Welcome back to F1 Casuals. We took a week off. It's the summer. We're busy. Give us a friggin' break over here. But it's the three of us. Mike, Greg, good to see you. We are going to review the British GP, obviously. We missed Austrian. Not a huge deal. We only missed, the most ridiculous track limits ever. And Max's consecutive laps ended at 2:48, which actually ranks third all time. But, not a big deal. That was ages ago. British Grand Prix today. Boys, how we doing?
Fabulous. Happy to be back in the studio. Great to see everybody. It's up to all the casuals out there. How we doing, Greg?
Doing great, Mikey, Mark. Great to see you guys, and really excited to break down these couple of races. What a couple of weeks in Formula One.
I know, right? And it's been busy. I mean, we both had Canada Day and the 4th of July, effectively USA Day. So summer has definitely started. And you know what's great on a nice, hot summer day?
I definitely know what's great on a hot summer day.
Look, it's already sweating like it is a hot summer day. You probably can't see this because we're not in 4K, but it's boxing rock. We got these hunky-dories in bottles now. I know we had the cool cans, but now we got the cool bottles with new branding. Actually, you know what? I think that might be the old branding, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. It still tastes great and tastes the same. I'll tell you what, I can't even open it right now. Get it.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
That's a tough one. I had to use the shirt.
Wow.
Sue me.
Nice voice. You lucky bastards.
That's been sitting for a bit, but still good.
Cheers to you, Greg. Cheers to all the casuals out there. Cheers, Mark.
Yes.
So it's your home race, Mike.
Yes.
In some ways, you've got the England top and the England kit actually underneath there.
Yeah, represent.
Manchester red, I guess, too.
Always, yeah. Same to you, Greg. Same to you, Greg. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What are you, kind of British too there, Greg?
Look, we got a little Lewis Lando on the go here on the pod.
A little bit. British educated only.
Okay, good enough.
Honorary.
Yeah, honorary Brit. We'll take it. And it's Silverstone. A lot of people's favorite race on the calendar. Obviously, F1 being a British sport, that makes sense. Yep. And we had a couple good storylines.
Definitely.
Going into this week. Of course, is Max going to win again? Is Red Bull going to tie McLaren for consecutive wins at 11? And maybe something that wasn't as big a storyline, but that it became the biggest storyline is the McLarens. And Mika Hakkinen, a.k.a. I was going to say Nostradamus with like a Mika Hakkinen thing, but I mean, they're not competing with the Red Bulls, but we're going to get into it. And you all saw it. Wow. That out of nowhere, except for Mika saying that, which we kind of made fun of him for a couple weeks ago. I guess we owe him an apology to start off with.
I know I certainly owe Mr. Hakkinen a sincere apology. I doubted him. And just at the time, it seemed unfeasible, let's say.
Like, we knew there were going to be upgrades, but from what they sounded like they were doing, it wasn't substantial and definitely not enough to turn it into a goddamn rocket ship like it was all weekend. What's going on?
Like Lewis said, well, I mean, we knew there might be something because Lando in Austria, he was the only one with the upgraded package and had a good race. Qualified, was it fourth, I think?
Believe so, yeah.
So long ago, almost 8 days ago, but fourth, and then, dropped it back a bit in the race, which we expected because the race pace always comes last. But no idea that was going to happen. So let's get into qualifying because we'll get to where the McLarens finished and ended up. But I think we need to take a second to talk about Checo because, first of all, he's annoying as shit to me because in my fantasy league, I take him. Because Red Bull, obviously you take him, he's going to do well typically. But he hasn't been doing well lately. So I switch him out with Carlos Sainz like an idiot. And he doesn't qualify well. But you know what that jerk-off does? Is he climbs up the whole grid and you get points for every car you pass.
Wow, yeah.
And now I'm in fourth place from second in 2 weeks. So not just Helmut is disappointed and upset with Checo. It's me too. And I mean, let's talk about the race when we talk about the race, but not getting out of Q1. This is, ladies and gentlemen, Checo's worst qualifying so far, like this year, since 2017 in the Force India.
Not good.
And Yeah, and like the worst possible time for it when he needs a Q3. Like how many is this 5 or 6 races in a row he has missed Q3?
Yeah, I believe 5. Could be wrong,
I
but
think it's 5. Yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
believe so. Could
yeah,
be
because
wrong,
it's
but
now 5-5 between
yeah,
him and Albon in
yeah,
terms of qualifying.
yeah, which is crazy. Credit Williams, like
Yeah.
back where they belong, just like McLaren. But this is a huge issue for Red Bull, and it's I think one thing about Red Bull in that garage, when there's a minor issue, it festers and it grows and it gets worse and worse. Anytime I've seen Checo on camera for like the past like 4 races, very unhappy. So clearly the Red Bull pressure that we all know exists is fully being pressed on that man's chest. And, it was nice to see him climb through the grid a bit more this race at Silverstone. But I remember in previous races, he didn't finish as high as he probably should have. So
No.
I don't know, Greg, what's your take, man?
Yeah, Mike, I think first and foremost, there's no one with a good poker face at Red Bull Racing. I think that goes from Christian Horner to Helmut Marko. They wear it, they show it on their sleeve, and you can tell the heat is on. And like you say, Checo sounds incredibly unhappy, incredibly uneasy. A lot of conjecture on movement at Red Bull and AlphaTauri at the moment. So yeah, not a good situation, and no worse time to put in the qualifying than he just did.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of shakeups within those Red Bull teams, I think, coming soon. And we'll talk about that speculation.
Yeah, maybe
a
sooner
bit
than
later.
sooner expected. Yeah,
Right. But yeah, I mean, it looks so bad because of how dominant Max has been with that car. And I mean, Max probably loves it because he looks like the greatest driver of all time right now. But surely it just seems like he's really snake bitten, and that can happen, it's an individual sport at the end of the day. And we've talked about this before, like that mental part of the game plays a much larger role when you don't have a bunch of teammates to back you up on a different shift. So, I mean, obviously something to watch. He's going to be in that seat for the rest of the year. There's no way the top team like Red Bull, not AlphaTauri, would change a driver halfway through the season. There really isn't a candidate. You couldn't put Ricciardo back in there right now because he's going the AlphaTauri seat. But no, it's disappointing because a strong season last year and what mostly on all accounts appears to be a stronger car this year.
the performances is what's lacking.
Yeah, and
especially in qualifying.
And I was thinking about this the other day, where cars are like tuned to the number one driver or whatever, and people say, "Oh, well, the car is like made for Max." It's Checo's a different driver. He's better on the street circuit, so he's better, around tight corners and all that good stuff, better reactions, whatever it may be. But like, it can't be that severe.
Yeah, I honestly have been investigating, and I'm struggling to come to a concise conclusion when it comes to what the exact, what's the catalyst here for these poor performances. In certain situations, just referring to like, a setup for one driver versus another. Lewis, arguably number one driver at Mercedes, and he struggled with their livery for, the end of last season and into this season predominantly as well. However, results are coming. So you would expect the same from Checo, but we're not really seeing it. So I'm still very curious as to what that major issue is for him.
Yeah, he said something post-race about he knows why the performances haven't been there recently, but didn't really give away much. Curious to see what that full answer is when he comes around to making it.
I mean, yeah, we can speculate all we want, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Have at it.
I'm going to go back to Austria, actually, when he didn't get out of, what was that, Q2? Or I think he made it to Q2. But told by Red Bull, put in a banker lap. Instead of that, he went for everything. Track limits, of course, the theme of that race.
Yeah, multiple times.
Get deleted, and, he doesn't get out. So it's not even that he's just racing poorly. He's also not listening to his team.
Yeah, driver error, a lot of that. Seen a lot of driver error from Checo, and highlighted predominantly in Austria, like you said. But yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it's ego in a lot of ways.
Hard to have an ego that size when your teammate is Max Verstappen.
You're still one of the top 20 drivers in the world. I mean,
yeah.
It's definitely a chip. Maybe not ego. I'll call it a chip on his shoulder.
Definitely. Yeah. Checo, I could see that. He's a feisty driver. Look at him when he was battling for his seat with Ocon after the Stroll takeover. So, yeah, that's not far beyond the scope.
Yeah. Ultimately, just what a fall from, consistent race winner, podium finisher last year. And in some cases, like an ideal second seat at a team like Red Bull, where he's supporting his teammate, he's running defense and doing it well in races. Like we're nowhere near that caliber of driver this season, and it's really disappointing.
Yeah, like Abu Dhabi, right? Defending against Lewis, allowing Max to catch up, and just where's that Checo?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it does suck to be in Max's shadow. So what can you do? All right, enough about Checo. Your boy, who you've been in support of last little while, Mr. American Logan Sargent. He is now seeing the benefits of that Williams, and we'll get to Alex Albon, Sir Alex Albon, eventually. I'll tell you right now. But Logan had a good weekend, and he qualified for Q2. Didn't get out of Q2, but I mean, you can't expect him to get to Q3. Q2 is good enough for me. He followed that up with a solid race. So hey, Logan Sargent, not so bad after all.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing, man. Like the progress is definitely happening. Great to see him get a Q1 at Silverstone.
Yeah.
And hopefully that progresses, and we got 2 Williams going into Q3 and scoring more points for the team.
Is James Vowles the next Adrian Newey?
Ooh, I don't know if I'd go that far because he's not so much a designer, you could say.
Okay.
But as far as strategy, overall team development, running the organization, Jos Capito for sure laid a lot of the groundwork for James Vowles to essentially build off that. So, Williams, keep doing what you're doing for sure.
Yeah. We'd love to see it.
And for me, guys, the thing that I most appreciate that James Vowles has brought to Williams is leadership. And I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Like the videos that we love and we feast on at the casuals, where he's given some post-race commentary, about things that went right, that went wrong, things they're working on. Like that level of transparency is huge. And I think also like, being honest with the upgrades that are coming or not coming, the resources that are available, that all goes a long way. And he's never throwing drivers under the bus. Like when Logan's really struggling early in the season, those videos are covering for him. Like he's explaining why the performance isn't there. And it's, it falls at him as opposed to the driver. So I think that's given them the latitude to make these steps forward in addition to the work they've done in the factory, obviously, but altogether, like just great leadership, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, that's a great point, Greg, about how those videos they're not like an excuse for maybe a driver mistake, but like even I remember him breaking down Albon's crash in Australia, and it was just from a completely technical point of view where driver error was not talked about whatsoever. So really seems like a great guy that you want to get behind. We love what we're seeing at Williams, and we love that livery, that 800th race livery too.
Yeah,
good,
beautiful, and just to be furthermore onto that point, like the confidence that gives to young drivers and the entire team from the top down is tremendous to see. So
yeah,
great leader,
100%. And you know what? I'm gonna take a second because I never do this till the end of the episode now, but I should say it a bit earlier. Folks, if you're liking what you're hearing so far and you're on your favorite podcast platform, please subscribe to this podcast. Give us that 5-star rating and leave a little review. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of the revival of Williams or the regeneration of McLaren that we're going to get to shortly here. If you're seeing this in living color on YouTube, subscribe. Tell people about it. Share it. We want to get YouTube money.
Yeah, we want to grow. We want to grow. We want to give you the best coverage possible. So smash that bell so you get those notifications.
Smash it.
Yeah.
If you're just casually floating by on Instagram, rip us apart in the comments. Engage us. Help drive the algorithm. Come for us.
We're
ready.
We're ready. I'll keep putting controversial reels out. Stir that pot.
Yeah, always.
All right. Thanks, folks. Back to the show. All right. The story of qualifying, the story of the race. We're in Q3 and the track's drying up. And it's one of those qualifying that, whoever is last out is probably going to get pole. And all of a sudden, McLaren's both in Q3 and time is running out. And Lando crosses that finish line in pole ahead of Verstappen's original posted time, and the crowd goes wild. I didn't know you could hear the cheers like that in F1.
Oh yeah, drivers love it. Like I mean, Lando himself, he loves that support, and what an unreal feeling for him to hear that Silverstone crowd supporting him.
And another shout out to the F1 production team. I thought the audio was like 10 out of 10 all weekend. It was awesome.
Solid. I actually listened with my AirPods.
Sick.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I almost forgot. I was watching it on TSN, I don't know, 1 or whatever the first one was on the TSN streaming app. And normally what they do with commercials or ads is they do the picture-in-picture. And you still see the race, albeit much smaller, but you don't get the race audio. So it could be a conversation between Crofty and a team principal or an engineer.
Team radio.
And it cuts out. So I can hear about Modelo beer or whatever the hell TSN Bell Media is trying to sell. But this time, they cut directly to commercial. Full ads, like it's a hockey game or something with stoppages. And the first one was when Crofty was talking to Zach Brown about the strategy. And Greg, we talked about this afterwards because you didn't. Oh, yeah. You actually got to see it because apparently ESPN isn't as greedy as Bell Media. But he was giving the race strategy on what McLaren was going to do moving forward because they both just got passed by Max. And it cuts to a commercial. It's like, what are we doing here? This is ridiculous. Now, I will say that apparently there was another channel, TSM5, whatever, that was still doing the split screen. But for any channels to be doing that, how much money do you guys need?
Yeah, ridiculous. I know for Sky Sports, for sure. And of course, F1.
The Brits would burn Sky Sports headquarters
There's
down.
Zero commercials. Zero commercials during the race. Like, give me 10 minutes before and after. I'm cool with that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, do what I'm going to do, make coffee or whatever. But yeah, pivotal timing to be cut off like that. Not cool, TSN. Not cool, Bell.
You could miss anything. Like, it's craziness. Anyways, I just wanted to say that.
Lucky Greg, yeah. Lucky you, Greg.
But back to Sky Sports and their great production. Lando crossed that line, P1. Oscar crosses the line. He's P2. And we're like, oh, my God. I mean, Max is still coming around the corner. But he actually is yellow in Sector 2. So it's like, are we getting a 1-2 McLaren finish out of absolutely nowhere? Of course not. Of course we weren't. It's a Max Verstappen pole.
To be predicted, as expected. Yeah.
But that doesn't discount an amazing performance in qualifying and in the race for McLaren. So another shout out. We're going to just throw out shout outs all.
It's the McLaren episode.
It's the McLaren episode. And that's partly because Aston Martin is, the hype train is kind of slowed down a bit. We got to oil those wheels again. We'll get to that later on. But yeah, McLaren, amazing. P2, P3 going into the race. And that made for some, immediate drama because we had never seen them up that far in the order. So we weren't even worried about, Max, is anyone going to challenge him? It's like, it doesn't even matter. Of course no one is. But are the McLarens going to stay ahead of the field and get a double podium?
It certainly set the stage for an exciting race. That's for sure.
Yeah, and Max's surprise after qualifying to say, I expected to be quickest, but I did not expect to look back and see these two. Like, a little bit of shade, low-key shade, but I think genuinely happy for his buddy Lando and also just to see, another team in the mix as opposed to the usual suspects every week.
Right. There's that picture of him looking back and seeing Lando and Oscar behind after they pulled in, and it's a meme now. He's like,
yeah. Completely shocked.
You know what? And I was telling Mike this, Greg, earlier. I watched Rush again last week because my girlfriend's never seen it. And I mean, watch it whenever you want, even if you have seen it. It's a great movie. Niki Lauda, or at least the caricature of Niki Lauda, played by, I don't know what his name is off the top of my head.
Couldn't tell you.
Not Chris Hemsworth.
Nope.
But his humor in that movie reminds me of Max's humor.
Yeah. Very similar.
Yeah. Right? Like, very dry and also like, what's that?
I think I don't know. I know people say I look like a rat.
Right? Like, very aware, but also like very dry, and also like kind of thinks he's funny, but not in like a dickish way, almost like I don't know.
Completely awkward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Completely awkward.
Socially awkward for sure.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we know the story with him, but love to see it. And who do we have in the rest of the grid there? I didn't even write it down because I didn't care. Like, that's all I cared about.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the headline stealer for sure.
So at the end of Q3, in addition to the rapid McLarens, we had the Ferraris with Charles just outpacing Carlos. And then directly behind them were the two Mercedes boys, with George being quicker than Lewis this time around. And then followed closely by Alexander Albon in his rapid Williams.
Don't you just love to see that?
Love it. Yeah. Great grid.
The Williams was always fast on the straights, but they now appear to be faster on the corners.
Yeah. Definitely in the high-speed corners. Williams was looking very handy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only downside to Williams having this ascent mid-season is what's happening with our boys at Aston Martin, because Alex outqualified our boy Fernando, who came in at 9.
We talked about this earlier. Like, is this Aston Martin kind of
We got a question
fumbling
to pose. Yeah.
or is it a matter of the rest of the grid kind of catching up?
I think it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah,
It usually is.
I tend to agree with Greg. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's and also like Aston Martin was ahead of the game as far as upgrade packages compared to like the other teams that they're competing with in the points area.
Yeah.
So,
It's a
I mean,
shame.
Time for Daddy Stroll bucks. You know, got to open that wallet again, I guess.
Get
Like
the whip out.
Yeah, because you know, they're getting surpassed by
Everyone.
everyone. Yeah, I was going to say several teams, but it's basically everyone. And, you know, when you're getting out qualified by Williams after like 4 consecutive podiums or like 4 out of 5, something like that for Fernando, like, you know, Stroll aside, yeah, definitely needs to be addressed by the Aston Martin crew.
I think this might have something to do with one driver just not being that competitive, and I don't know, it's kind of just creeping in like, hey, we should have been better if we had 2 capable drivers, or less capable, we talked about this, but we had 2 very competitive drivers, then I don't know, maybe the mentality would be a bit different around here.
Yeah, it's definitely a Red Bull vibe at Aston Martin kind of as the season progresses. One driver's performing exceptionally well, and another one is falling behind, and also with given the circumstances, you know, driver error is definitely a part of that equation to these poor results from both Checo and unfortunately Lance as well. So
and I mean, and Fernando's sliding down, so it's not just a Lance thing; it is a car thing. I think you boys are right, no question. It's a little bit of both. Aston Martin not jumping further ahead I mean, you know, hard to when you're so far ahead at the beginning of the year, you're like, oh, well, we don't want to mess this up. Like, we're not going to try and upgrade the upgrade right off the bat. I mean, you're always trying to improve, but other teams forced into, you know, much more drastic measures, I guess you could say. And upgrades did come, I believe, in Canada and maybe Austria too for Aston Martin, but obviously not making a big enough difference. It was the new side pods. Maybe that was a mistake after all.
Yeah, there was talk about the floor as well, but also, you know, Silverstone is, you know, it's like golf. It exposes everybody basically.
Yeah.
Show me what you got.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Greg, what your take's on it, but for me, it's like, you know, maybe it was just a one-off. Like Hungary's going to tell a big story because Austria didn't seem so bad, but
yeah, I think it's just also a challenging run of races for these teams too. Like you go from the Red Bull Ring to Silverstone, they're just completely different animals. And I think, like you say, Mike, like Silverstone with, you know, those high speed corners that are basically straights, like it can expose a team that has lagged behind in developing their livery for the last several weeks.
Oh yeah, Maggots and Beckett's and whatever the third one is.
Yeah. Oh my God.
What is it, Greg? What?
Cop's Corner.
I've been practicing. I've been
Cops?
literally
Cops is
practicing.
before.
Yeah. Cops,
right.
Maggots and Beckett's, and then
another one, and then the one at the end of the straight
Vale
is
chicane.
Stowe.
Yeah, there's Stowe, and then there's the Vale chicane as well too.
Yeah,
but yeah, Cops is the one where they take it at full out.
Yeah, that's where Max crashed.
Yeah, and like with Lewis last year, and then this year Lewis was side by side with Lando through that. But we'll get into that in a little bit.
Definitely not as aggressive.
Going to come for us in the comments so hard.
Oh, we're gonna get butchered for that? Yeah, I know. We can redo that.
No,
like,
whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
No, I think that's the whole thing. Like casuals in the name, idiots.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, true that. But I was literally trying to remember these corners, like 3, 7, is blah blah
Oh, we
blah.
could. I mean,
9
we
is-
could Google it, folks, and so can you. So
Yeah.
you know what? We're moving on. It doesn't matter anymore. It yeah, right. Yeah,
bad.
but no, you're right, Greg, and Mike as well. It does expose every team in different ways, and this week it was Aston Martin, and then eventually Ferrari in the race. But yeah, Pierre Gasly, he rounded out that top 10. Lance, I think, was P13. Unfortunate. All right, and before we get into the race, special shout out to the special shitbox AlphaTauri that seems to have gotten worse as well over the year. And Yuki is now off my fantasy team and stuck in Q1 forever with his buddy Nick DeVries for at least a couple more weeks. And that is just a disappointing season. I think this, I mean, maybe not because it's Red Bull's feeder team, but this has got to kind of be embarrassing for Red Bull in some ways.
I mean, of course, you expect quality results given the relationship there. And Red Bull has also stated recently that they're going to be applying a lot more resources, let's say, to the feeder team starting next season.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're so embarrassed that they're changing the team completely. Yeah. The new name, new brand, new people. That's everything. How embarrassed they
Fresh start. Yeah, let's forget about the past and move on for sure, because this has definitely been a season to forget for AlphaTauri.
You got that right. Purple Cow Racing incoming.
Look out.
All right, let's get into the race. And everyone was wondering, how quickly is Max going to get off the start? Is Lando going to get a good start? We'll see what happens. And you know what? He did. A really good one. I don't know if you took note, boys, when they pulled up to the grid. Lando was aggressive, and he was pointed right at Max.
Yeah.
And that paid off because Max tried to come over like he always does. He almost ran, who was it? Checo off the road in Austria? Yeah, I don't know if you saw the sprint race where Checo actually did well in qualifying and started P2. Max cuts across, and Checo is basically off the track. But, I mean, I guess he gave him a little bit of space. But maybe Lando knew he was going to try to do the same, and he took that aggressive line and got a great start. Faster reaction.
Much better start. A little bit of wheel spin, too, from Max.
Yeah, I guess that was something that Max wanted to talk to the team about after the race. So I guess it wasn't a Max error, but when is it? But Lando, hot off the start and going into turn one, he's already ahead of Max.
Yeah, and Piastri challenging him as well, too.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, sneaky there start from Piastri there, too. I think even Lando said after the fact that he thought Oscar's start was even better than his.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're great together.
I like that combination for sure. Yeah. Piastri is starting to show his true colors. Also, very experienced, especially at Silverstone. He's won there twice, I believe. The
F2?
feature race in F2, correct, and Formula Renault back in the day as well.
Wow.
Digging deep for that one.
Like that. Nice. There's some trivia there for you, folks. So they go So Lando goes ahead, and now on everyone's minds is how long before Max takes P1? Well, we don't have DRS for the first 3 laps, and Lando was able to hold him off. And then even with DRS, he was able to hold him off for, I think, 2-3 laps. It was lap 6?
5,
6?
Yeah.
Where Max finally made the pass, and he did make it look easy. But Lando and Oscar, P2, P3, start pulling away with Max.
Yeah.
I mean, Max pulling away in his own right.
From the Ferraris, yeah.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, the McLarens are, quality pace is there. We knew that maybe already, but race pace too.
That was my biggest question when it came to these upgrade packages. Like we'd seen them progressively qualifying better, but was that going to translate to race pace? We haven't seen it up until this point, but wow, did we see it at Silverstone.
Yeah, I think if anything, this race really demonstrated how drastic that DRS system is with Red Bull. By the McLarens being able to keep up, but not quite.
Yeah. I mean, talked about it over and over again. Adrian Newey is an airbender.
Genius when it comes to aerodynamics.
So yeah, after Max passed the McLarens, race kind of got settled. McLarens were pulling away, which was great to see. Lewis had a nice pass on Fernando. They were fighting, actually. That was a nice little battle. It's not the first one. They had a great battle in Australia as well. And then lap 10, Esteban Ocon. And Alpine just had a real bad weekend.
Tinker.
He went out, mechanical failure. I guess like a drastic mechanical failure.
Yeah.
I don't know. exactly what
One
that
of those
means.
where
but
the engineer comes on quick. Turn off now. Power off now.
turn it
Power,
off, turn it off.
Yeah.
And that actually may have been during a commercial break for me because I didn't see it. But yeah, he was back in the pits. Unfortunate for him because, well, Alpine, it looked like they were going to turn it around, but they've been having some bad luck of late.
Yeah.
And it continued.
Yeah. At best. Yeah.
So after lap 10, after that little Ocon mishap, race settled in. Not much happening until, I believe it was the 34th lap. And Haas, who's been having what seems like year after year of reliability issues, K-Mag's Haas to be exact, his bad boy caught on fire right on the racetrack.
Yeah.
And virtual safety car initially, which I have no idea why it was a VSC to begin with. This happened earlier in the year, and we were just talking about it. I can't even remember which one. Was it Azerbaijan? Was it whatever it was? Teams got screwed because they called the VSC, and it was clearly evident K-Mag's car was on fire on the track. That's a full safety car. What are we doing here?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be service vehicles and crew members and whatnot, safety having to get onto the track. So immediate safety car, in my opinion.
Immediate.
As well.
You can see the flames. And everyone's going in. VSC, you do save time in the pits, but you don't save as much as a full safety car. The delta is different. Oscar Piastri's race gets sort of screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, McLaren made it pretty clear in that tweet. He deserved that P3 podium. It was Lewis who gained, what was
capitalized,
7 positions?
Big time, yeah.
It was him and, I don't know if actually anyone else really was able, it was him and maybe another driver that were able to.
Charles, I think, benefited a bit too.
Did Charles benefit?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Sainz got screwed. I know that
Sainz
much.
got screwed.
I had him on my team.
Time. Yeah.
But after the full safety car gets called, Lewis gets his nice little shortened pit stop, gets into P3 ahead of Oscar. And I mean, it looked like he might get P2 because the McLarens came in and both switched to hards. And this is where we're going to talk about McLaren again, because personally, when they did that, I thought it was a good call because they had talked all race about how McLaren's tire degradation is really high. But that can play to your advantage because it means they get those tires going. They get them nice and active early. And Lando was pissed that he wasn't going on softs. There's radio from him being like, I can't quote it, but he was not happy about going on hards. He didn't understand it. He even said after he finished P2, he was like, I don't know why we didn't go on softs, like still questioning the call. But I think it was the right call.
Yeah, I think so too, Mark. Like when I was watching, I was kind of Jones. I was hoping they'd throw the softs on too, just for pure excitement. Maybe they would catch Max up a little bit, make it really close towards the end. But, tires were degrading all over the place at a track like Silverstone. Lewis, I think, was running out of rubber by the end of the race on softs. So probably the right call. But, the internal racer and me during the broadcast, I was really hoping they'd go soft. But I think you're right. Right call.
Couldn't agree more. I was inside just screaming like soft, soft, soft. There's only like 12 to 10 laps left of racing. Also not the hottest day, so tire deg would be like a little lower. Track temps are lower than average for the season. And Lewis being on softs, but also used softs behind him.
That was the big thing that you said.
Yeah, like the cliff is going to come eventually, right? And they're definitely not going to last 10 laps because like they at the beginning of the race they were originally rated for like 10 to 12 laps max for fresh on the softs for this compound. Then George comes out crazy and does 27 laps on a set of softs. So, there's so many complex layers to this.
It was a weird race. They said that every tire is working. That's what they said at one point.
Yeah, so it's a toss up, and given the McLaren's difficulty of switching tires on, but also known to have high tire degradation, complex. Furthermore, as this was discussed on some other outlets as well, this was the first race with Lando's new race engineer that will be with him up until the summer break, and I think for a couple races after, because his current one is going on paternity leave at the summer break. Yeah, so this was literally the first race for his brand new engineer.
P2.
And not only P2, but to have to make a call like that to force, to force the call for hards, which... credit to Lando ultimately for that first 3 laps under the safety car restart, fending off Lewis side by side in copse, full out, tremendous driving, taking advantage of being very smart, with the overtake and his energy to confirm that final result. For him.
Oh yeah, like Lewis had him with that low speed corner before Copse for the straightaway there. I think he was past him, and then Lando had he had more grip maybe at that point because Lewis's tires did fall off a cliff. He did say near the end of the race that he had no rears. He lost the rears.
Yeah, I think like Maggots and Beckett's, like that acceleration in those high speed corners, like that's where like Lewis kind of stated where like he saw the gaps, and it was an absolute pleasure to watch that happen. But that McLaren switched on for sure.
Oh, we said it was bouncing through those sections.
Yeah,
like it was
nice to watch.
It was fun to watch.
Isn't it nice to see some wheel to wheel racing in Formula One? God damn it!
Yeah,
we got it.
And maybe credit to like regulations too for allowing other teams to catch up, and we're actually starting to see that play out. You know, Max Verstappen aside, obviously, but who's it gonna be next weekend?
You never know. So that's a fantastic result for McLaren. Although Lando tempered expectations with this quote, and I have this for you right here. He said, "We do have a poor car. And I would say pretty terrible in the slow speed corners, extremely difficult to drive. And I feel as if we're getting excited, and I accept that, but we're going to go to a couple of tracks coming up where I'm sure people are going to be saying, what have you done now? Like, how has it gotten so bad all of a sudden?" So that is interesting. And I mean, most of those corners at Silverstone are high, medium to high speed corners. Hungary coming up, a lot of low to medium speed corners. So maybe that's when the McLaren gets exposed. And it seems like they're going to have some serious trouble in any hot climates.
Yeah. Tire deg very, very high. Yeah. So more work to do at McLaren.
Yeah. It's just the beginning. So we'll see. So I'm not putting them in my fantasy team yet. Is what I'm trying to say. You shouldn't either, guys.
Tremendous double podium, though. Back where they belong.
Absolutely. So, Greg, it's your favorite part of the episode. There was a Ferrari fuck up this weekend. It was also a little bit of bad luck because Carlos and Charles, they switched to the hards before the safety car, before K-Mag was out. Charles, not too happy about it because there was that data at that point that at least Mercedes with George was going long on the softs. So maybe switch from mediums to softs. Now, for you casual fans out there, you have to use 2 sets of tires and they cannot be the same composite. So you can't go medium. You had to go medium soft or medium hard. And they went medium hard, and Charles kind of wasn't making any headway after getting those hards. And then they still put Carlos on the hards many laps later. Mind you, Carlos did turn those hards on a bit, but it still seemed like soft might have been a right call for them. And then at the end of the race, Carlos's tires were there was 2 turns where he got passed by 3 guys.
Yeah.
That was hard to watch. As a Carlos owner, hard to watch.
Yeah, and Carlos's frustration, I think, is just mounting and mounting. He's having a tough time keeping it low key. And he's usually a guy that doesn't stir too much controversy, but if you just listen to him on the radio recently, just total dejection. Whereas I think Charles Leclerc's spirit was broken a long time ago. We said that last pod, I think, just how broken he is.
Yeah.
He's well past it, but I think Carlos is going to get there before too long, and going to throw this out there yet again. I think we need to get Carlos away from Ferrari. We got to do it.
Wow, that's a hot take.
Yeah, we want him to go to Aston Martin. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. Like last epi. Yeah, love to see it. Yeah, I couldn't agree. I agree, Greg. Like totally. Especially from his team radio behind the safety car where they were discussing options. He asked about lap times. How are people doing on this particular tire, soft versus hard? And then ultimately he left it up to the team.
Yeah, I remember that. That was. Oh, wow.
I was like, dude, pull in for some softs. Like Ferrari is actually giving you like a choice in this matter. Like, yeah.
But it was tough because it was
track position versus.
Yeah, it was like lap 36 at that point.
Yeah.
So there was only 14 laps left. You're going to lose. Well, I guess you're only
Three
going to lose.
places, I believe they said he was going to lose.
And he was going to go behind Charles, which they said.
Yeah, that's
which
true.
they kind of hinted like, if you go behind Charles, I'm not going to let you pass him or some shit like Ferrari
Points
would
in
do.
the bag. But ultimately,
He was a sitting duck.
and he lost
it was
those 3
inevitable.
positions anyways. So
And yeah, didn't get nearly as many points as Checo. But what can you do?
And no matter how you slice it, it is another Ferrari fuck up.
It sure is. Ferrari's slowly or maybe quickly becoming not the team with the historic past and the dominant past and a legacy team, but a team that ruins great drivers.
oh man,
The embarrassing present.
it's the soup's gone bad.
The soup's gone bad.
It's in Maranello. Sad to see. But internal politics are definitely playing a major role, as they always have, and unfortunately always will. Sometimes they get it right, and when they do, they get it very right. But in recent memory, no bueno.
So yeah, Aston Martin, not the greatest results. Fernando finished P9. Lance, I don't even know, 18th after he got that penalty for driving right into Pierre, which ended his race after going off the track. Like, as you can probably tell, he's also on my fantasy team, and he's useless right now, and it's very unfortunate. I don't know what Lance is doing out there. He got interviewed after the race and was like, what happened there with Pierre, the 5 second? He was like, I don't know if it was for a 5 second penalty and it's like, you drove Pierre off the race. Like you should have been a 10 second. You should have been disqualified. Anyways, I'm not going to get too upset about that. And Aston Martin hopefully can turn it around end of season because we still love them. And Aston Martin did tweet a Fernando quote saying, expect good things to come in the next few weeks.
Okay.
So whatever that means, maybe Fernando's going to really buckle down and focus. We'll see what happens.
Some additional upgrades too, potentially coming.
Yeah, true. Upgrades that will maybe work.
I know we've been real hard on him right up until, a decent weekend in Austria, but Lance, buddy, come on. The way he just let people walk past him in the race. I don't know if you guys caught how just casual he was when he knew he just laid down.
Yeah, it didn't look like he was fighting at all.
Hard to watch. No, certainly didn't look like he knew he's on the Force India Awakens F1 fantasy team. Unbelievable. All right, so on the other hand, the other British team that we love, Williams, Alex, P8, very nice. Qualified P8, finished P8. That's stellar. In a Williams, folks. In a Williams.
That's right.
And he finished ahead of the Ferraris. When was the last time that happened? I couldn't tell you.
Can't remember. Maybe before I was born.
Probably the 90s at some point.
Yeah,
definitely the 90s. Yeah. And maybe when Massa was on the team.
Yeah. Yeah. Early days.
Yeah. Early days of the Martini days.
Yeah.
So great to see for Williams. We're not going to go too much into that. We already touched on those two teams in qualifying. So it is time for who impressed you, who disappointed you, and who surprised you. Who's going first?
Greg.
Well, first and foremost, I'm hugely impressed by Alex Albon. I think we got to give him his due for the result he's got for Williams here this weekend, and just steady progression through the calendar year. So kudos to you, Alex. Good man. For my disappointment, I think I'm going to have to go with Alpine F1 Racing. 2 DNFs, and this is just on the heels of having some exciting new ownership buying in. Not a good look for them out of the gates. I'm sure they'll be vocal about it. But yeah, very disappointing weekend for the Alpine boys. And surprised. How can you not go with McLaren? 2-3.
You gotta. I mean, no one saw that coming. Except for Mika Hakkinen.
I sure shit did not.
Very nice, very nice. Those are good answers there. Mikey, what do you think? He's over there studying hard. What happened in the race? I don't know.
I can't remember. Who impressed me? I would say Oscar Piastri for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Rookie, definitely was challenging for a podium. Unfortunately, caught out under the pit stops in the safety car VSC. We already know how we feel about that. But kudos to the rookie, and showing his true experience and his talent with a P4 result. So kudos, Oscar Piastri. Very impressed.
Yeah.
Disappointed. Yeah, Haas as well for sure. Reliability issues throughout the entire season. Is that attributed to another Ferrari gremlin, given that that's the power unit supplier? Very disappointed to
Yeah, it's another Ferrari fuck up. We got him.
Yeah. K-Mag was on for points for sure. So disappointed again. No, he wasn't on for points.
No, I mean, well, Hulk qualified well. Like he's getting, their races are just absolutely terrible.
Yeah, like sprinters, not marathon. I guess when it comes to longevity and reliability with the Haas Ferrari power
Get
unit.
Gene on the phone.
Yeah, so definitely disappointed by that reliability.
Yeah,
and surprised. I mean, Aston Martin. Surprised by the poor run of form lately after such a strong opening start to the season. 4 consecutive podiums, something like that, 4 to 5. And we expect them to be, not necessarily challenging Red Bull throughout the entire season, but definitely like being able to fend off like Ferrari, Mercedes, and now McLaren. So hope to see improvements there, but surprised by the poor form by Fernando in particular and Lance as well.
Yeah, that's very fair.
What about you, Mark?
Well, who impressed me? I'm going to choose to believe that it was Zach Brown who actually decided on that call to go to hards.
The tire choice.
Because it was both racers, and Zach was asked about it, and he was like, it's just a gamble at the end of the day. And then at the and in the post-race interview with Lando, he was like, I don't know it was probably Zach who made that call to go on the hard. So I'm going to choose to say it was Zach. And he got redeemed.
Street cred there.
TSN hooped you there, Mark. That was one of the live interviews during the virtual safety car.
There we go.
Wow.
So who impressed me? Zach Brown, not only off the hot seat, but maybe back on the throne.
You never know. Yeah, just stop filing emails and stuff like that. And
God, they have so many sponsors on their suits too. It's hilarious. Who disappointed me? Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
And their guest of honor, Cara Delevangelist. No, Delevingne. Is that it? Yeah, Delevingne. Cara Delevingne. Not so much Cara, because whatever, she's doing her thing and just taking pointers from the team at Alfa Romeo. But if you saw it, you saw it. Martin Brundle's grid walk, known to apparently be controversial for celebrities because they're celebrities. And I mean, he's getting in there, and he's kind of being a bit of a pest, trying to get every interview. And, it's Martin Brundle, whatever. He's trying to get a soundbite from Cara. And at the end of the day, who even cares about a soundbite from Cara Delevingne? But he's trying to get it anyways. And she says no. And she's with the Alfa Romeo team for the weekend. And she's with the Alfa Romeo spokesperson next to her. And it seems like he's saying no. And she's gesturing to him. And then she's like, I can't hear what you're saying. And it just seemed like Alfa Romeo was not allowing her to be interviewed on the grid walk, which makes no sense because they're an F1 organization, F1 team. The whole thing just stinks. And Alfa Romeo, along with their crap season, were kind of just being crappy on the grid too. And who's surprised?
Sorry, do you want me to lean in on that one a bit, or?
Well, if you want to.
I think Martin Brundle.
Let me just crack a beer for this one.
Yeah, no problem. Get your popcorn. For me, Martin Brundle is a tremendous asset for Formula One. The experience and the commentary, the one-liners that he brings, the Brundleisms, as Crofty calls them, it definitely adds to the coverage for sure. But these grid walks are getting a little more outrageous and potentially a little pompous.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say pretentious there, but
it's just all of those adjectives. I mean, it's almost like these cult moments that have happened organically and naturally through the past, and what has made the grid walk what it is today are just they're trying. It seems like Martin's trying to create these situations, create controversy and whatnot.
Hey, we're talking about it, so.
Right? And I can remember him making like comments about Christina Aguilera, a pink girl. Look, she's up there pretending to be a Formula One fan.
No, that actually was David Coulthard. I will tell you right now.
David Coulthard said that, not Martin Brundle.
Yeah,
hilarious. Okay, I take it back then. But not something that I Martin Brundle, I'm sure would potentially say himself.
Well, he did have a snappy comment after Cara denied the interview. He says, "Oh, I'm sure it would have been something really interesting."
Right. So, he just thinks that they're there to have the picture taken and not actually fans of the sport. I mean,
I'm not an F1 diehard.
Oh, I was just saying it's a bad look all the way around, like with the awkwardness and the forced nature of the whole thing. And
and on the other hand, when he tried to get Megan, what's her name, Megan the Stallion at the Miami GP to like do a rap, that was cringe as shit.
Yes.
And Megan handled it well. She just laughed it off. She's like, "I don't have any raps for you today." So that was very cringe and awkward. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's supposed to be in some ways. It's British. It's quintessentially British.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Mark. Yeah.
So who surprised me, Michael?
Maybe a certain Logan Sargent.
I am a real American. Fight for the right. Fight for the life. P11, best result of the year for Logan Sargent. That Williams is looking nice. And hey, Mike, hats off to you because you believed in Logan, Mr. Sargent. And here he is putting in a great result in Britain. So yeah, very, very surprised in a good way for Logan. And we knew about Williams, we knew about Albon. So it's good to see that everyone on that team is now feeling great.
Yeah, and shout out to the rookies.
Yeah, shout out to the rookies. Logan, Oscar, probably rookie of the year. I got some flack on Instagram earlier by calling Lando and Oscar like potential championship, world driver championship caliber drivers eventually along those lines. Well, look at them now.
Yeah, leaning in the Oscar direction, but yes.
Totally.
And there's only one rookie I can think of off the top of my head right now who's drawing the ire.
Yeah.
Who's risking a spot, and we'll get to that before we wrap up.
We're going to get to that.
Let's get into it.
Okay.
Why not just right now?
Yeah, let's get into it right now because we're pretty much done the race here. Verstappen showed out 6 wins in a row. The record is 9. Yeah. You guys know who it was?
Michael Schumacher.
Yeah.
Schumacher,
Lewis Hamilton.
7.
Yeah. Lewis?
Not Lewis.
No.
Actually, Rosberg had 7 as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
With 9 in 2013, driving the Red Bull
Sebastian
Vettel.
Yeah, that makes
crazy.
Sense. Yeah.
Dominant there. Didn't realize it was 9. I was surprised when I looked that up. And another little cool thing for you Brits. First time since 1999 that there were 2 Brits on the podium. Do you know who those 2 Brits were?
1999?
Yeah.
Coulthard and Hill?
Ooh, we got one.
Ooh, yeah. Coulthard and Mansell?
Ooh,
or was Mansell done by then?
No, they were, I think he was done by then.
Yeah.
Coulthard, I'll give you a hint. So Coulthard was in the McLaren, and he won. And P2 in the Ferrari.
Damon, it would be, and you already said, you already said Damon Hill. So it's not
Damon.
him. I don't think he ever drove for Ferrari, actually.
Mike, I thought that would. I thought you'd know it.
And you said it was a British, and it's a British driver.
It's a British.
Greg, do you have any idea?
What was the first letter of his first name? Because I feel like this was something.
This will give it away immediately. It's E.
Yeah. Oh, it's tip of my tongue. I hate this. I'm looking at him.
Oh my gosh. This is
so
I'm
bad.
putting this up. I'm going to put you guys on blast.
Please do not.
I'm sending this to
Elton John,
Queen, or the King. You know what I'm saying.
Dude,
Elton
I
John.
hate these questions.
Team Ferrari.
Give me the first letter of his last name.
I.
Oh shit.
Irvine?
Eddie Irvine.
Eddie Irvine.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Well, obviously we gotta where were we when? What was the question?
Nope.
How long did Eddie Irvine drive for Ferrari?
I have no
Couldn't
idea.
have been long.
I didn't look back that far, or I didn't look into it that much.
Wild.
P1, P2.
You learn something every day. I guess. Yeah.
That's when Coulthard was driving that nasty McLaren.
When did Hill stop racing? Damon Hill.
Or late 90s?
I'm not sure, but
2000s?
Mark and I were kind of talking about potentially doing driver profiles
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Folks, we're kind of
historical
going
drivers.
off the rails here, but yeah, that's something we're thinking of doing during the silly season, along with a few special guest interviews, is doing driver profiles on former legends of the sport.
Yes. A
Beautiful.
little history for you.
A little history lesson, so you're not as casual as you were before the episode.
Knowledgeably casual.
Knowledgeably casual. All right, so there you go. First double Brit podium since '99. Red Bull, 11 wins in a row, tying McLaren, then that 1988 MP44. So that is the British GP. And we've gone long here, folks, so we're going to sprint, and I mean just fly through to the finish line with a couple headlines. Not great news for us Canadians. CBC News is reporting that our fellow Canadians that attended the GP this year in Canada probably won't be returning next year because price increases by 37%, in some areas a bit more depending on what package you're getting. And it was already up this year because of the popularity. So that is, I guess expected, but kind of unfortunate.
Very
Doesn't
disappointing.
bode well for the boys.
No, it doesn't. That's why we got to get those media passes.
Press accreditation. Let's go.
Yeah, 100%. Some very sad, tragic news. I believe formerly regional. There were some headlines saying F2, but I believe it was a formerly regional driver. 18-year-old Delano Van Hoff tragically died at Spa. Very wet and foggy conditions. They probably shouldn't have been racing. It was near where Antoine Hubert had his fatal accident, a little bit further down the straight, and very similar. Lost control and came right into the track sideways. Drivers can't see shit, and a car going full speed right into the side T-bones him. That's really the most vulnerable thing that can happen to a driver. Like, the safety regulations are incredible now, but that is the one action, the one type of accident that is always bad and a lot of the times fatal. He tragically passed away before he reached hospital. So that's very, very sad news, unfortunate reality of the sport. Some people are calling for the Spa circuit to be closed, to not have it anymore. It's too dangerous. I think that might be a bit extreme, and I know we're jumping from a tragic event to talking about should we keep a track, but I think that's the answer. I think maybe two categories that are lower than F1. I mean, obviously with the Hubert death in F2, but in F1, there hasn't been anything like that in a long time. I think you said the 90s was the last really bad crash at Spa, but
Yeah.
I think it's a bit reactionary.
I agree. I mean, I got a Spa poster in behind me here.
True.
It's one of our favorite tracks for a number of reasons, but yeah, it's hard to ignore the tragedy. Obviously, our thoughts are with that young driver's family, and just awful news to hear going into a race weekend. But yeah, I mean, it's part of F1. That track is synonymous with racing at the highest level. So obviously, if they need to make the adjustments, I would be on that side of the equation. Is just make the necessary adjustments to the track and keep it in the circuit.
Yeah, and also, don't run on days where there's high fog. I know that you've got fans there, people have traveled, everything's set up to race on this day, but obviously, there's been a few loss of life over the past recent years at this particular track and in this particular section. That's very dangerous. And yes, condolences to the family. And our thoughts are with you for sure. And let's take a multi-responsible approach to this. Let's not run in questionable weather, and also address safety concerns with these lower class open wheel vehicles, because that's where it seems to be happening outside of Formula One,
where there's not much experience. I mean, that is one of the most infamous areas of any track in F1. And I mean, if the F1 race can be called off, was it 2 years ago now?
Correct.
Or maybe it was last year. Time flies since the pandemic. We all know that. But if F1 can do it and all that money on the line, then surely a lower category can do it. Whether it was F2 or Formula Regional, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So we start there, like you said, Mike, and move forward with that. Aston Martin's new factory is up and running. Mikey, you just watched a cool little YouTube video on it. We highly recommend it. We'll put that in the comments section, or the comment section.
We'll link in the description.
Very cool, very sleek. just the highest quality of technology going on right now.
Very much so. State-of-the-art facility, and hopefully that is shown in the future of the cars coming released out of that factory. But definitely very impressive. Significant investment into that, and hopefully a bright future for Aston Martin.
And Honda. The Honda power unit.
Yes, big changes coming.
26. Let's
big
go.
changes.
Mercedes plans to turn towards 2024. They are done with the 2023 car. Apparently, they've dubbed it Diva 2.0, which is hilarious and maybe true. You saw the frustration that Lewis had in Austria with that car. Fared a bit better in Britain, but overall, it's definitely been a disappointing, now season and a half for Mercedes. So they're looking to get ahead of the curve for the next year and maybe, turn the corner before the new era in 2026. You never know. It's always hard to climb through the pack. And Shakira was back in the Mercedes paddock. So I think it's time to start the rumor mill back up again. Are Shakira and Lewis Hamilton dating?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
100%. What are they? I think it was Crofty or whoever it was.
It was Lewis's friend.
Yeah. I'm glad you took note of
okay,
that.
yeah,
Lewis's friend Shakira. Like, please, first of all, she has one name. There's no way that she's just casually there. It's like Beyonce being in the paddock if she was single, but she's not. Come on now. Shakira and Lewis started up. I guess we're going to need to do a Shakira song.
Yeah, well, she wrote one about PK, so maybe there's a Lewis. I know Lewis is very interested in show business, so maybe there's a duet, not just in the studio in the future.
Love to see it.
Love to see it. And finally, the most exciting news we saved for last. Greg, right before the episode, you texted the group chat with a Twitter link, and I'm going to let you take it from here.
I mean, at this stage, it's still pure speculation, but the rumors are intensifying. Danny Ricciardo was getting behind the wheel this week to do some tire tests, and Helmut Marko has made it sound like he may be taking Nick de Vries' spot earlier than we all expected.
Wow. Now, I took that and I ran with it. I tried to find more sources. There's a couple. It's pretty much the same idea, like speculation very high to the point that it looks like it could be certain. I've kind of changed my tune on this a bit, actually, because that AlphaTauri is horrible.
Yeah.
Like, it's only gotten worse. And when there was the rumors have been going on for a while now. And when Yuki was getting results, I was like, okay, well, you can get something out of that car. But now neither of them are doing well, and it could be a career sabotage if Daniel gets in that seat, because it could be like him in the McLaren all over again.
He's already been through so much, like you don't want to put him in a position like that. But I think the eagerness is there. I think he knows that if he gets a chance, he's going to make something out of nothing. So like you, I don't expect results necessarily, but I expect him to be competitive in that car.
Yeah, and provide guidance and leadership, not just for the team but also for Yuki. That's a big value for
but does
the Red Bull
he want to do that?
I mean, at the state of his career, could it get any worse? And getting into a team like AlphaTauri, where expectations wouldn't be as high as they were at Alpine and McLaren, maybe it's a good fit. No less pressure.
Yeah.
And if he can provide some insight and value for them to improve. And also with it's Franz Tost, I believe. Is it Franz Tost? The team principal at AlphaTauri he's retiring at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So it seems like more like a salvage operation per se, just to get us to the end of the season where the restructure will come into place.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we said it before, that team is going to look completely different next year. Like,
exactly.
Not even, and I said this, and I'm pretty sure this is true, is that they don't want it to even be as much a feeder team anymore. They want it to be a bit more competitive, not to the tune of the Red Bull, but not the embarrassment it's been this year.
Yeah, they're looking to potentially finish second or first and second in the
That's the
constructors.
dream, eh?
That's definitely the dream for them, and that's the goal. Whether that comes to fruition or not is yet to be seen. But significant investment will be made into the hopefully not feeder team, potentially still feeder team. Because like who wants to see two Maxes run away with it? But
that's fair.
Yeah, we'll see. As far as Danny Rick though, like. Wow, yeah. I mean, De Vries definitely feeling the pressure. And even though he's a rookie, as we've mentioned previously on the pod, he's 28 years old. So
he probably turns 29 like in a month.
Right? Happy early birthday.
Yeah, happy early birthday.
Hope it's not
De
sour
Vries.
cake, but sourdough.
Just
But
casually talking about his demise in the sport. But no, I'm with you. And I think for Danny Rick too, like this may be, given the uncertainty around Checo right now, maybe a little quick stint and semi-successful stint at Alpha is enough to give him some consideration.
That's
Reunite
what
the
he's
team.
saying. Yeah, that's what he wants. He I think he was quoted as, or you never know with these articles. They're always, you can't trust anything anymore. But apparently, Danny said, he's not going to take this AlphaTauri seat unless it potentially opens the door for that Red Bull seat. So if they come and say no, no matter how you perform, your time is passed for that Red Bull seat, I don't think he will come back. I don't think they would lie to him and be like, yeah, sure, maybe. Just jump in that AlphaTauri. But
I think they would. I think
yeah.
given the history, especially at the end of Danny's time at Red Bull, I think his faith is a little. He doesn't have as much faith, let's say, in the Red Bull organization when it comes to contracts.
No, maybe a bit more paranoid about the decisions being
Rightfully
made. Rightfully
so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Hey, silly season is around the corner, and it's going to be real silly this season.
Yeah. We'll see if there's any retirements as well, potentially. Valtteri might hang it up after abysmal couple seasons at Alpha.
Yeah.
But, we'll I'm excited to see if Danny ends up back on the grid for sure.
Yeah, 100%. All right, folks, that is it for us at the Casuals. Before we get out of here, if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, give us that subscription. Subscribe to the podcast, leave a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Once again, tell us whatever you want, except don't be vulgar or heinous, because I think you'll get in trouble with Apple. I don't know. They might come for you. You never know. If you're watching in living color on YouTube, hit that like button. Or no, wait, better yet,
smash the bell.
Smash that like button.
Yeah, smash it all.
Smash it all. Subscribe. Hit that bell button so I always know when new content is coming out, because we're doing short form videos of the podcast. We're doing memes, whatever, I got CapCut. We're doing stuff. It's cool. So follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Facebook at F1 Casuals as well. So you get everything that you need to be the most casual fan of F1 in the world. All right, folks. Until next time, it's lights out.
See you on the grid.